Hola, 8-ball. You are indeed early. So let's see. Oh, that's probably Twitch telling me I can monitor my stream from my phone. Thank you, Twitch. Yes, I am aware. Okay, cool. So just to give you a preview of what's on the lineup, I need to look at it. This is my list. We got 2 inks today. We've got a Atramentis Deep Water Black Blue, which is a blue-black, and then a 3 Oysters Dancheong that I probably just butchered the pronunciation of because I don't speak a lick of Korean. Let's see, what do they even look like? It's been a while since I've swabbed these, so I just vaguely remember the colors. So we'll see. I don't even remember like where this falls. Nope, not in this one. Who knows? I don't know. Like, this is gonna be a game in Let's Find the Ink Swab. It's in here somewhere. It's marine green. There it is. So this is the first one. That's the Atramentis. That's what we're gonna do first. So I'm gonna put the 3 Oysters away. Oh, and if you didn't already know, it's been about 6 months since I've started this whole blogging thing and Twitch thing. So as a result, for celebration, because I normally suck at keeping up with these things, like the fact that I've been doing this for 6 months is a minor miracle consistently. So I'm going to give away my bottle of Robert Oster Pacific Ocean Teal, which, let me find the swab for that. I know it's like right around here somewhere. Where is it? Isn't this exciting, watching me like try and figure out where the hell my swabs are? There it is. So I'm going to give away this bottle of Pacific Ocean Teal in celebration. And Aqua, I thought you were asleep. Come in, Aqua. There we are. Aqua is in. But yeah, so if you haven't already entered the giveaway, it ends like Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. So you got about another day. Click this link up here. There'll be a little big button that says giveaway. That'll lead you. There's a couple link button clicks involved. But yeah, fairly easy. Open to worldwide. Just warning, if you are international, different countries have different liquid restrictions, so I'll mail it to you. Don't know how well it'll work. Oh no, Twitch got unplugged. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, 6 months is a big deal for me, because normally I do not keep up with these things very quickly. But anyway, so yeah, if you have not entered already, you got another day or so, go up here. Will be a big old button that says giveaway once you go to that link. So yeah, so let's get to the ink reviews now, shall we? This is what we're doing first. Deep Water Black Blue. I think Van Ness is the only one that stocks this, because Mr. Van Ness is a big fan of just stocking all the Atramentis, just because he can. And I saw like a swab of this somewhere. I don't remember where. I don't know. It looked pretty, so I got a sample of it. And so now we're gonna see how it writes. I tend to like Atramentis inks. I think they're underrated. Or not underrated. That's the right word. They fly under the radar. They have lots of cool colors, cool scents. I know you can fit in here. Damn converter. There we are. Yeah, I think the main reason that I've been able to keep up with the blog for so long is because blogs in my head are like always associated with writing, and just the idea of like writing a long post or post in general. I'm like, oh no, it has to be like an essay. What I did with this was I purposely made it basically like an Instagram archive. So it's mainly photo heavy with some description in there. But like I always just look at the pictures and reviews anyway. So that the fact that it's mainly pictures, which are as a medium that I take very well to, has meant that I keep up with it rather easily. Well, not if not easily, but a lot easier than like writing actual like essay like blog posts. Don't knock that over. Ah, that was almost a disaster. Okay. This is always the most exciting part, isn't it? It's like, ooh, watch me fill the pens. Yeah, no, writing, I've just learned from me over the years that writing is a thing that does not come to me easily. It's like pulling teeth. So even if it's something I enjoy writing about, like I enjoy talking about, the actual act of writing it just makes it like a horrible, horrible thing. So if I can avoid like actually writing, it makes me much more likely to be able to do it. Also, see why grad school was hard for me because that's like all basically a shit ton of writing. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to write. Writing is a bad time. Hey, Rowell. Oh, and if any of you were wondering about my health situation, because I've been sick the past couple weeks, so it got bad. Last week, I actually spent a couple days in the hospital. Um, so yeah, that happened. Turns out I have an inflammatory bowel disease, so think along the lines of Crohn's disease. Not sure if it's exactly Crohn's or not, or something related to Crohn's, but yeah, basically my colon is on fire. Working, got good treatment now, good doctor, but yeah, it was last week was basically the hospital for me. But yeah, got good treatment now. I'm clearly out of the hospital, feeling a whole lot better because I've actually am getting the shit treated, and I've got a great doctor behind me. But yeah, that was an adventure. I got so much crap on my desk. So yeah, but I'm feeling like it's like between like last week and this week, it's like night and day. Like last week, like I did this, but I was kind of like barely here, and I didn't realize how barely here I was until like I had the comparison of this week, and now it's like, okay, yes, I can do this. I feel normal again, normal functioning human being. Okay. Deep water, black. And it's important for it to be black blue because there's also a blue black and it's a different color. I'm going to be on both diet adjustment and med controlled. One of the reasons I ended up in the hospital was because, wait, let me count this real quick. So yeah, one of the reasons I ended up in the hospital was I was starting to have a flare before Christmas, and then it turns out basically all the foods that we had over Christmas and were like the exact wrong foods and just like destroyed my intestine. Like apparently the CAT scan I had in the hospital was like wild, and the like like mini colonoscopy where they only did like part of my intestinal tract was like, holy shit, your colon's destroyed. Um, yeah, and so that combined with all the stress and just the terrible eating, and it was just like a bad time. But I'm on some pretty heavy meds right now to get that specific flare under control. Like I said, I've got a really good doctor I'm working with. I got really lucky, landed with a really good one in the hospital. Um, and and so and I'm following up with him. But yeah, I basically, it turns out like they gave me like a list of like, these are foods you should eat, you can't eat, these are foods you can't eat. And I'm like, oh, the foods I can't eat is basically my entire pantry, which explains a lot. So yeah, this weekend was lots of pitching stuff in my pantry, going grocery shopping, exploring new parts of the grocery store that I didn't know existed. Yeah, I learned that if I have a salad, that will fuck me up. So yeah, fun times. Right away I'm writing with this, and this is just lovely. Very what I expect. It's what I expect from Atramentis. Usually very wet, very well behaving, and it's just a very pretty color. And we're going to be writing about lobsters today because I'm a marine biologist, and there's an article about a lobster, so I can't not. Apparently, there's a rare calico lobster. Yeah, basically, foods I can't eat are like whole grains, raw vegetables, raw fruits, like anything with high fiber that normally like you would think healthy, like white rice, nah. White rice, good. Whole grains, bad. And I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I do have also some dairy restrictions, which makes me sad. But it's more like max amount, so it's not like I can't have dairy, but I do have to watch it, which is like, but oh, I was just like, well, okay, that's all going to cheese then. Sorry, moving around my mic a little bit so I have a little bit more room to write. So I'm going to be a little softer. You might have to adjust your volume because I moved the mic away from like right in front of my mouth. So far, ink is lovely. It's a nice, like, it's fairly, the swab is actually a fairly good representation of what I'm seeing on the paper. It's a good, like, darker blue with a little hint of teal. The flow is excellent. I'm loving writing with it. I'm enjoying reading about this calico lobster. Apparently, it is a 1 in 30 million chance mutation that this color pattern occurs. I can tell that I've been sick though because my handwriting is like, whoa, you could tell I haven't written in a while. That's why there's an article on it in the local paper. The Georgia Aquarium's vying to snatch up this rare calico lobster. Which means I could visit it. Again, still gorgeous. This is great writing with it. Flow is great. This is beautiful ink. Slept on ink, I think. Because people really dig this shade. Don't know why I haven't seen more buzz about this. Huh, apparently the shell is like a mottled orange and black, so it's like a Halloween lobster. Oh, see you, 8 Ball. Gotta go, otherwise you'll want to buy all the inks like happened last time. You were like, oh shit. This stream is bad for my wallet. I mean, I've loved all the Atramentis I've used. Like this, it's coming across a little bit darker on my screen than it is in real life, but so what I'm seeing in real life reflects a lot more what I'm seeing in the swab. It's just like, I don't know, weirdness with the camera. But yeah, that's really lovely. I agree, they get just slept on all the time. And I'm like, dude, these inks are lovely. Why does no one use them more? And I know the reason I was able to get this is because I know Mr. Van Ness, just on principle, like stocking every single Diatramentis ink. And so he's just like, we're gonna have all of them. And so that's why I have this one, is because they have this. And I think the Van Nesses are the only ones that even have this ink. But it's really nice. So in San Francisco, in one of the ink or one of the like rotation rooms, I was sad I didn't get this room because apparently Mr. Van Ness just had a whole bunch of Diatramentis scented inks out and like unlabeled, so you had to like try and guess what the ink scent was by sniffing them. And I'm like, damn, that would have been fun. I mean, I enjoyed the room I was in, but there was like I had Ralph's table and I played with Ralph's pens a lot before, so I'm like, okay, like I didn't need this again. And I had Don's table, which I had played with his pens before, which is always fun, but it's like, oh, something new and amusing would have been nice. This is so warm-hearted. It's just like, oh, like this rare lobster was just part of like the normal catch for like a fish market, and then the owner was like, dude, this lobster's weird, we're gonna save this one, hey National Aquarium, tell me how to take care of this lobster. And now she's just like chilling in a tank. Well, they decide on the lobster's forever home. It's like, aw, heartwarming story about a lobster. I mean, this ink is still awesome. I would also like to point out that the lobster's name is Eve. It's just adorable. Oh, the lobster might become a character in a children's book. I'm just like, yes, good lobster, go. This is the kind of story I love. Mainly because I'm a marine biologist and it's like a weird local news story, and I'm just like, yes, all the boxes. And also, I'm just like, this ink is damn nice. Holy shit. Let's do the Rhodia because that tends to show up the best on the webcam. Has the best reflection of what I'm actually seeing on the page. I actually just realized how good of a match this ink is to this pen. Like, scary good match. Yeah, this is just super wet, well-behaved ink. Looks gorgeous in all the pens. It's coming across a lot more black darker here. You could see a little bit more blue character in real life. But yeah, it's got a little bit of shading, but not a whole lot of shading. Mostly it just is damn good performing. Like, Lovely would gladly use this in, like, all my pens. Good work color, because it's blue, but it's like a kind of off interesting blue. So you can't really get yelled at, but it still offers more character to your writing than your standard blues and blacks. Now, I have a feeling it's not going to do well on the cheap paper, because usually inks that are this wet just burn through the paper. You can even see spots from the last ones I did where it's like, oh yeah, that didn't do too well. What were the last ones I did? Oh, Robert Oster Thunderstorm. That burned clean through the paper. That's a Robert Oster Thunderstorm from the previous page. Okay, moment of truth. So it's not unpleasant to use on the paper. The feathering's already pretty bad in a dry pen. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Flipping this over is just gonna be like, how bad is it? You never know. Sometimes inks that feather really badly don't bleed as bad. Like all the ink was taken up by spread rather than penetration. That sounded really nasty. But I mean, it's nice to write with on the cheap paper. Like, it's so wet you can't feel the, like, the shittiness of the paper. Yeah, feathering's pretty bad. This is. Let's see how it looks in the wet pen. Oh, jeez. Oh yeah, this is bad. So you might not want to use this as a work ink after all. Especially if you have minimal control over your paper. Oh, jeez, yeah, this is. I don't know how well you can see that carnage. But yeah, it's just like. Oh, Jesus, fuck. It's so bad. It's so bad. Don't use this ink on shitty paper for the love of God. And this is why, when people are like, oh yeah, use a fine nib on shitty paper and you'll be fine, I'm like, no. That is like the least of your concerns. You want flow and ink. Jesus. Man. Okay. So now we know. Don't use this ink on terrible paper, or you will be very sorry. Okay, I gotta empty this out now. Oh man, that was one of the worst ones I've had in terms of shitty paper performance. Granted, I started the shitty paper thing partway through, like a couple months into the reviews, so I don't have a huge sample size. Not as much, like I have earlier inks that I have not tried on shitty paper that I've already reviewed. But man, this was bad. Okie dokie. So that one's getting filed away. And then I'm going to go clean these pens because I have not brought my cleaning apparatus here. Because have been sick. My house is a little bit of disaster because have been sick. So I will be back shortly. Hola, I'm back. Okay, so I'm gonna move this over to the side for a minute while I assemble the pens. Getting some like paper towel to do all this with would be very helpful. I will say that that Atramentis cleaned up very nicely. Came out right out of the pen. Unlike, what was it I did last week? KWZ Baltic Memories. Similar color, super sticky, was hard to clean. But did have sheen though. So I guess that, and this one doesn't have any sheen that I can see. So I guess, I mean, this is kind of fairly well known if you're deep into the ink community, but if you're not, things that the inks that tend to have the cool properties like the shading and the sheen, not so much shading, but sheen especially, tend to be harder to clean because sheen usually means that there's just more stuff in the ink. So it's just going to be kind of goopier and harder to clean because that's what makes the sheen happen. Is that's usually that's a higher concentration. Okay. So our next one is we have a 3 Oysters ink coming up. We have 3 Oysters Dancheong, which is like a chalky red, if I remember correctly. Like I said earlier in the stream, it's been a while since I've swabbed these inks, so I'm just kind of revisiting. Okay, yeah, Dancheong. It's got kind of, it's a little bit chalky. It looks like a little bit of some sort of sheen on the edges of my swab. It's like almost sheen, not quite sheen, kind of like the Rouge Hematite sort of sheen. So we'll see how this actually writes up. Heard mixed things about 3 Oysters' actual performance. Heard they can be dry, heard they can be wet, heard it really just depends on the inks. So I haven't used this brand yet, ever, so I'm eager to see what it looks like. I actually don't have a lot of reds in my collection, which is surprising because I really like reds. Maybe I'm just pickier about reds, which is why I don't have as many as my collection. There's so many reds out there that are like pink or orange. I tend to like a punchier red versus like greens. I have 5 bazillion and a half greens because I like pretty much all shades of green. Versus reds, it's like a little pickier. And like I had a bazillion purple samples because I was being really picky about what I wanted to get a full bottle of purple of. Like I only have like 2 full bottles of purple versus like 5 or 6 full bottles of green. But because I had all those samples just to find the perfect green. The purple gray, people were going batshit over it because it's a weird color, but it just didn't do it for me. I think it's because it looked really similar to Hippo Purple, and I was like, I have Hippo Purple. I really like Hippo Purple. I don't need another color that's like Hippo Purple. Okie dokie. Let's get back to writing about this lobster. I'm probably gonna, the article's not that long, so I'm probably gonna have to switch, find a new article midway through this. I mean, it's, how much can you write about a damn lobster? I mean, I can write a lot about a damn lobster, but for a newspaper article, then Cheong. Terrible Korean pronunciation. Like I said, I don't speak a lick of Korean. So please eviscerate my pronunciation. Heck, I don't speak a lick of like any East Asian language at all. Like, I know like 2 words of Japanese from watching too much anime, and my pronunciation there is probably still terrible. Okay, let's see how this goes. Okay. So it's feeling a tad dry, but not like I've used worse. It's like I wouldn't preferentially put this in a dry pen, but it's doable. Where even was I in the article? Okay, so this is, like I said, it's a tad dry. I wouldn't rush to put it in this dryer writer, but it's serviceable. Like, if I had to, like, I could do this. It wouldn't be my first choice. I would probably ignore the pen in favor of other pens if I had other things inked up. But I could do it if it was my only option. Let's see if it does any better in a regular flow. Yeah, this feels much better already. So yeah, tad dry. Wouldn't put it in a dry writer, but anything else. I can't decide how I feel about this red. Like I said, I'm picky about my reds. This seems like it would be a good probably like grading red. But for like regular writing, it's a little light for me. I like a little bit more like blood saturation in my reds. It's also, I gotta keep in mind this is cream paper, and cream paper, especially on the warmer inks, can really affect how the color looks, so I'll need to see how it looks on the Kikuyo. Okay, so just looking at, I'm liking how it looks better in the darker or the wetter flow, just because it's putting more ink on the page, and so it looks more like, I don't know, it's just darker. As it dries, it becomes a little chalkier, and I can actually see a little bit of there's some shading in the wet one, and maybe a little bit of that sheen that I was looking at here on the swab. But if there's anything I've seen from other like reviewers' experiences with this ink, is that as it dries, it looks very different. Like it goes down a lot more like blood red than it actually dries. Oh, they gotta throw the scientific name in there in the end. Got that Homerus Americanus. Advantage of having worked in the lobster lab is I don't even need to reference that to write that scientific name. I can write that off the back of my hand. And they even said Maine. I'm like, oh, I know what species that is, without even them having to tell me. Again, still in the Kokuyo. Would prefer it to be a little darker. Usable in a dry pen. Not my favorite in a dry pen, but usable. Okie dokie. Hello. Has the chat gone wonky? I'm not seeing anything on my end. Everything looks good on my end. I haven't had any blips. So, the chat on the screen is a little bit more, sparse because I did go clean pens a little bit ago, and that clears it when I do my, like, holding thing. I am just about done. Well, I've just finished an article about a lobster. And so now I need a new article into which to transcribe. So I might be going back to politics, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, unfortunately, because state politics, the new state legislative session is about to start. So I might just do like a little like highlight, because I don't have that much left to write. Yes, we do stand Eve the Lobster. Huh, I don't know. Some of the connections with the Twitch can be a little weird sometimes. But yeah, so now we're going to move on from Eve the Lobster, which is heartwarming, to things to watch during the Georgia legislative session, which is like a quick fire session. Like, it's ridiculous how fast the session is. It's basically Georgia hates government. So they want to make the legislation, like, basically the period in which you can legislate as short as possible so you can get as least amount of government in as possible. It's fucking ridiculous. But yes, we do stand Eve the Lobster. Eve the Lobster is the best. Actually, let me check real quick because I do have the bot up just to make sure that something didn't get nailed from the bot. Huh. Okay, so it looks like whatever issues you're having, JD Lady, is Twitch connecting to you on your end, not on my end, which, I mean, I've had that happen. Twitch as a viewer can sometimes leave a lot to be desired. But it works a lot better for me on the back end. Oh yeah, there's going to be a shit ton of new legislators in the Georgia legislature because the midterms had major reckoning on the state legislative level. Like, the state races were intense, and there was like so many cascading effects down from Stacey Abrams' run. It was just like, holy shit! Not enough to flip the seat, not enough to flip the house, any of the houses, but enough to make it ridiculous. Like, the numbers are very different. Okay, so just looking at what this looks like, it actually somehow looks more washed out on the white paper to me than it did on the cream paper, which is interesting. That does sometimes happen with the warmer inks. They look more full on the cream paper, which is why I do like cream paper, because I do like warm inks. But yeah, I actually like it less on the white paper. Interesting. This is what we had last time. JD Lady, you missed the earlier ink, which was a very nice Atramentis. This is why I do pencil for the names, because I constantly mess some up. Interesting. It's coming across very bright right now after I just laid it down, but it's almost like you can see it like getting a little more subdued and chalky as it dries. Because I like the color that it goes down wet. I'm just not sure if I'm into what it's doing after it dries. Because wet, this is still very wet. You could see it's very blood, like very deep crimson red. And then up here it's dried. You could see it's a little bit more subdued. And even then, it looks really different on the Rhodia, which is a bright white, versus the Kikuyo, which is a like off-white. It's this ink is one of those that looks very different depending on what paper you put it on. And some inks are more robust and look the same on all papers, and some inks are like this, where it's just like, I don't know, it looks completely different depending on what you use, which is why I do different papers. Also because I have a bunch of different paper and I need to use it. That's really the reason, is because I had it. But you know, diversity and all that. This is a good secondary effect. Yeah, it's very weird, and even like in the like swab on the edges, it like is almost trying to sheen, but not quite. It's a very strange ink. So now let's see how it does on the shitty paper. The Atramentis was terrible. You could basically like read the other side of the paper. It bled through so bad. So let's see what this is like. I have no idea what to expect from this, because the performance has been kind of weird. So feathering is marginal in the dry pen, which I mean is usually what the case is. So let's see what it looks like in the regular. Again, feathering's not terrible even in the regular pen, so this is also a good sign. We'll see what it looks like in bleeding. Sometimes you have those inks that are like no feathering, but all the ink nastiness went into bleed through rather than feathering. So we'll have to see how this goes. Wet pen is always the troublemaker, as you would expect, really. Okay, so now let's see. Feathering, not great in the wet pen, but again, that's expected. That's been pretty much all of them. Oh, this isn't terrible compared to the Atramentis, which you should never ever ever use in shitty paper, we have decided. This ain't bad. This is passable. Like, if you need to use, like, if you have to grade on shitty paper or something, this might be a good red for you. Especially if you're using like a dryer or a regular pen. So, oops, didn't do all the lines that I usually do. I mean, the wet pen's still not great, but that's usually the case. So that's about it for me writing reviews for this week. I'm probably gonna stop the stream for a while I go clean pens and then reboot it again while I do all the scans and stuff. So that way I have a clean file to export to YouTube for people to watch later. I don't tend to export me writing, like doing scans and stuff to YouTube. But I'll do the actual writing the reviews, I'll export them to YouTube. But I'll empty this quick. And I also need to put those samples away. need to do that quick before I sign off. So you can watch me offload samples. Excess. So I got these, then I also need to put my samples in the box. That's what I forgot to do last time. I was like, I knew I was forgetting a step. So that's gonna go in box 2, E5, and then the Atramentis deep water. I need to figure out, I need to go back to that one. Because I write basically where all the samples are, like what box and row and column they are on the swab, because I tend to pick out what inks I want to use by looking at the swab, and so that way I can find it instead of digging through like my bazillion samples for forever. That's going to be box 2, E3. Cool. That's a full box. Look at all that fun stuff. Run out of room. Gonna need to get new sample boxes soon. But yeah, so I'm gonna go clean pens. I'm gonna stop the stream and I'll restart it when I'm gonna do samples, or not samples, scans. So that way, like I said, I have a clean file to export to the YouTubes. So look for a notification again if you're not already following. I'm probably not gonna post that, like blast that link everywhere on the Slack and Twitter and everything. So just look for the notification in Twitch if you feel like joining me. If you don't, that's fine. But yeah, I'll see you in a little bit then. Okay, bye.